Preacher series premiere. Now, AMC has brought in another TV show that is based on a comic book, and the reviews for this show have been like really great. Like, it's the greatest comic book adaptation ever, and stuff like that. So I was super excited to watch this first episode, and watching it, I did enjoy it. I don't know. I mean, maybe those people saw more than the premiere, but I was like, it was a cool premiere. I didn't think it was like it's the greatest comic book adaptation ever. Like, even the origin of the story is different compared to the comic books, which I only know like based on like a 5-minute video I saw on YouTube about the origins of Preacher. But I still enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. Visually, I love the opening. How they had like old cheesy like 70s sci-fi film sort of thing, and it's like this random energy flying through space, and it has a great freaking start because it's this random energy is flying through. There's this preacher in Africa preaching to people and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, so obviously this energy is going to fly and it's going to hit this guy. So it hits him, and it was totally different than what I was expecting. I thought, okay, this darkness, whatever it is, it takes over this guy. He tells everybody silence and shut up and stuff. And then he's like, it goes away. It's not like the crazy demon voice anymore. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. I thought it was going to like start controlling people, like take over and try to rule the world or something crazy like that. And then he's like, "Oh, I'm the chosen one." And he's like, "I'm boom," and he blows up, which completely shocked me. I was like completely surprised by that opening. He just explodes. Everyone's bloody. They all take off. Crazy opening, and it had me super excited. Like, all right, I'm already invested in whatever craziness is about to happen. Then we get our preacher, who we find out, which they kind of show in the trailer. Um, he used to be like kind of this really bad dude, and he has this traumatic experience of his father having been killed when he was a child. And I'm very curious how that's going to play out as far as the terms of the show, because of the little origin thing that I know about the story now and what that may or may not mean. So I'm curious if they'll kind of stick with that part of the character or kind of change it up a little bit. But we have this preacher who is kind of a crappy preacher that no one really respects too much. And he's going through his life. He's trying to do right by his father because his father was a great preacher in the city. And he's trying to help people. He's trying to help this woman and her son who, the mother's being beaten. And so he's trying to get the officer involved or like the captain involved. And he doesn't want to get involved. And I love the line where he's like, yeah, you don't want to miss out on the drunk wife beating vote. That's probably like a big thing around here. So I thought that was really funny. But he's trying to get help for this woman, and it just won't work. And even when he goes there and he's like, you can tell me what's happening, she lies to him and says like, oh, I enjoy it and stuff. And at first I thought she was serious, but he's like, no, you don't. And so it's like, okay, she was kidding, because I thought for a split second that it was like I didn't think that he wasn't actually beating her. I thought he was actually doing that, but she secretly does like it for real, like as like because some people actually like this stuff where it's like crazy beating fantasies and stuff. And I was like, that's a twist. But he's like, no, you don't. And then you could tell that she was trying to lie to him. So then we get the really awesome scene, skipping over some of the other awesome stuff, which I'll get to for our other two characters that just went nuts in this episode. But we finally get the scene where he gets to the bar and the guy comes back. Of course, it's kind of funny, but I'm like, of course this dude is doing a Civil War reenactment and he's, fighting for the South. I was like, yeah, that kind of doesn't surprise me. The wife beater playing for the South. Surprising. So he talks to him and he's like, don't beat your wife and stuff. And the guy punches him and he lets it go. And he's like, once he mentions he's going to beat his son too, it changes everything. And it was just a fun thing. And it was really cool too, because he punches a guy and he instantly smiles. It was like the first smile he had in the entire episode. And I was like, this should be really interesting, because we got a little bit of information from his friend Tulip where it's like they used to work together. So he's the preacher, who's like the former super thief or something. It was really vague what they did, but I would assume that it wasn't like government based. I assume that they just like were like really high class like thieves and stuff like that. So he's this preacher who's like a reformed super thief or whatever, who clearly has some fighting skills and loves it, because he was fighting those guys and he's just smiling and he's like beat the crap out of them. And I almost called the guy Rudy because I'm thinking of this other show he was in. But the vampire dude, he helps him out and he kicks the chair to knock the other guy over. And so, he's going through all this, and then the sheriff comes in, and he's like, "Oh, hold on, I'm almost finished." And he mentions the high pitched noise and stuff. Because when he first talked about that, I just assumed he was gonna hit him like in the head, and it would be like he like messed with his eardrums, so it would be this high pitched noise he would hear. But he was like, you're gonna make that noise. I was like, that makes it something very different. And then he just snaps his arm, and he definitely hit a high pitched note when he did that. And I was like, holy crap, this should be fun to see where things go with this character, especially because it was insanely obvious he was going to get hit with whatever this aura or whatever it was, and he'd survive instead of, the African guy in the beginning, and then the Russian guy, and then even Tom Cruise, who got killed off in this series, which I thought was really funny, actually. It's like Tom Cruise died, he blew up at a Scientology thing, so I thought that was funny. But, we have this character who loves to fight, and his plan was to quit, but, by the end of the episode, he chooses to stay and be a good preacher. And I thought that was pretty cool, because it makes it more exciting. Like, now what's going to happen, because he's saying all this stuff, and we get to see what happens after he's hit with this power. He's given the ability to kind of control people, even if it's unintentional. He can say something like the guy who is nagging him the whole episode about his mom, and he's like, for the last time, be brave, tell the truth, open your heart. And even when the guy was walking away and he kept repeating and stuff, even before it happened, I was like, I'm pretty sure he's gonna take it literally, because he's gonna do it, and he's talked to her and stuff. And then he was talking to her. I was like, okay, this really calmed down. I was very surprised because he was constantly repeating. I thought it was going to be bad from the beginning, but he was super calm and everything. And I was like, okay. It simmered down really fast because they had the music playing, and he's on the plane talking to himself. He's filling out papers and stuff, and he's walking. And it simmered down. It was very calm. And I'm like, oh man, he finished. And then it was clear because he grabbed the knife, and that's why I thought it was going to be like the brave thing is what he was going to misinterpret, and he was going to just kill his mom. But then it was calm, and I was like, oh crap. And he flipped the knife up, and I was like, he's going to cut his heart open. He actually ripped his heart out, which really surprised me. I thought he was literally going to cut his heart open, but he cut his heart out, and he dies obviously because you can't really live when you're human without your heart. So that was crazy. It was like, it was literal. And with him saying all these things to people, does it have to be when he's angry? Because he's clearly upset with the guy because he was bugging him the whole episode. So his tone was very different than, oh, just do this, or like, give me a cup of water, please, or something like that. It was a very different tone than what how you would normally speak to someone. So I don't think it'll happen when he says something every single time, but clearly it's gonna happen at certain times. He's not gonna realize it for a while. Maybe like 2 or 3 more episodes, if that, because we have the 2 guys who were kind of going to all the places where the people died, and they're following this energy, and they know what it is. So we have to see who they are. I don't believe they're supernatural. If they are, they're definitely not vampires, because we obviously got that in one of our characters, where we have the scene where the preacher's narrating, and he puts his hand in the sun, and it like sets on fire. So it's fairly clear that they aren't vampires unless they're doing like the crazy sunblock move. But they know what's going on. I assume they're going to try to either kidnap or kill the preacher. So we'll have to kind of wait and see how that plays out. But I like the characters that they have. The main character, I think he's really cool. I like the actor for sure. I think he's a pretty good actor. And so then we have our other 2 main characters. We have Tulip, who had a great opening scene. Both of our side characters, I think, had better scenes than our main character in this one, honestly. But their introductions, like he has, as the main character, we see his normal life and then his changed life. And both of them are just like insanely from the beginning over the top. So her thing starts off, and it starts off pretty simple. It's like, because the preacher goes to the house and he sees a gun and stuff, and so he takes off. But then we kind of get the flashback where she's in the car and she's dealing with these guys, and she's like fighting 2 dudes at once inside of this car, and she like bites one dude's ear off and stuff, and it's just madness. Like, they go through all this crazy stuff. She ends up killing both of them. She stumps the guy's nuts and shoves a corn stalk in his mouth, and then kicks him, and he chokes on it and dies. And then she makes a bazooka with these little kids, And it was just crazy. And she uses like moonshine and little army men to like blow up a helicopter and fight all these people off. Which of course we don't get to actually see it, but I was like, that was still really freaking cool. She just has the knife as a handle, and I'm assuming because I don't know how that would work remotely in real life because it was, I guess they were aluminum, so it's not like it would have melted or anything, but I don't know. She just launches little army man into a helicopter and she beats all these people and lives. I was like, this is freaking nuts. So I thought she was pretty awesome. And she tries to bring the preacher back into things like, hey, I have, she has a setup plan, which I'm assuming, and I'm curious if we'll get to see that or if that'll kind of fall to the wayside once things kind of pick up for him and like the crazy superpower stuff. But, she's trying to kind of bring him back into this thieving sort of life. So I'm looking forward to how that might play out, especially with his powers now. And he clearly had the drive and he was gonna quit, but he chose not to. So of course he's not gonna go back into, at least not right into kind of being a thief again. But it has me excited what she can kind of play around with and how she might affect him throughout the series. And then we have our vampire, and I can't remember his name, but and this might not be the right name, but the actor, and I mentioned this, I don't even know when I mentioned this, is some really old video I did, but the actor is from this old show, this old British show that I really love called The Misfits, and I believe his character's name was Rudy, I want to say, and so I was super excited when I saw that he was going to be in this, because I was like, oh, I like him as an actor. I actually know all three of the main characters, because the woman who played Tulip used to be in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I was excited when I saw that she was in this as well, so that I thought was really cool. But we have this guy, so we have Cassidy. That's his name, is Cassidy. So he's on this plane and stuff with these random guys, and I'm like, okay, so I knew from the trailer that that was the scene where he was fighting because he was in the outfit and everything. So I was like, all right, does he just kill these people because he's a vampire? Like he just goes nuts. So I was waiting to see what happened, and they're doing coke and smoking and drinking and all this stuff. And so he goes to the bathroom, and then he looks, he sprays, and then he's like, oh, what's this? And he sees the Bible. And so he's flipping through, is like, yes, yes. I don't know what all those ramblings were for. That really confused me. I don't know if these people, and that's one of the things that it makes me wonder, because with him being a vampire, they're always considered like the bad guys unless they're the main characters. So typically it's like we have a bunch of human vampire hunters, and it's like vampires are bad, period. And I don't know if these people were even that sane because of the Bible thing, and it's like, it's just scribbles, and it's like, yes, and certain stuff with circle. So I'm like, I don't know if these guys are just normal vampire hunters, or if they're just like insane, or what's happening. But he has to fight them off, destroys them, and it was funny when they were like picking up axes and stuff. I was like, he didn't notice that axe was just like hanging over, that little railing right there, and I thought it was really funny. But he's fighting all these people, and he's like, flipping people and stabbing people, and even when the captain comes in and he breaks the glass and he stabs them, and then it's like, okay, I gotta get out of here, and he like leans him over because he's like, I gotta jump out of the plane, and he leans him over to fill up like the little Fiji bottle with blood so he can heal himself. I love that scene, like that whole thing. I was like, that's actually just really cool, just because I've never, not that I can remember at least, I don't remember anything where like a vampire killed a bunch of people in the plane. I was like, well, I gotta launch myself out of this plane right now. And so he, opens it up, has the blood, and it hops out, and he grabbed the umbrella, which I thought, I love that. But he hops out, and of course he lands, and I love visually how it looked, and it was just like, he was very fortunate, I guess, that his top half survived, because this is one of those things where, outside of the, towards the end where he puts his hand in the sun and it sets on fire, we don't know what works on him, and the holy water thing didn't work on him either. So holy water doesn't work. Fire does work. Basically, any blood can heal him because he took the cow down, which was a cool scene as well, and we got to kind of see his super strength. So I thought that was pretty cool. But it's still a bit of a mystery. Like, is it the wood thing? Do you have to chop his head off? Do you have to take his heart out? Like, what are they going with? What killing device are they going with for the series? We don't really know yet. So maybe if he was completely squished, it wouldn't have mattered as long as there was enough blood like just dripping on him or something. But I like that scene. It was pretty cool, and I like both their characters, both our side characters. And Tulip, we already know, had a relationship with the preacher, and so we have Cassidy, and it's like he's kind of the new guy. He he helped the preacher out during the fight. He, kicked the chair out, and he went to check up on him. And then when he's the one who found him knocked out, but he stuck around for like 3 days when he didn't need to. Although he was, abandoned. He didn't. He doesn't really have money. He was kind of abandoned by the other vampire he cloned. So I'm guessing that's like an organization that they have where it's like, hey, if you want to, let us know what's happening because, he's like, I don't know how the vampire hunters keep finding me. Can you wire me some money? And of course they kind of hang up on him, but I thought it was cool. I like both the side characters. I like the main character, but they had like I said, just like kind of super crazy epic scenes that made him seem like insanely badass compared to the preacher himself, who does have a cool scene. But I am looking forward to this series. I did enjoy the first episode. I thought it was pretty cool. I'm gonna try to find if the character's name was right because it's kind of messing with me. Yep, I was right. It's Rudy. So the actor Joe Gulgan is the guy who plays Cassidy. I don't know if that'll show up really, if it'll show up perfectly, but that's him from Misfits, which is a great British show. People with superpowers and stuff. Really crazy show, but love that. Actually, I think the woman who plays Tulip was on there as well. I could be wrong. I think she was on there when she was younger, which is kind of funny. I think, or maybe it wasn't her. I think it was someone else who was on there. It may have been her. I think it was, but some actress from there was also on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I do think it was actually her. So they technically might be working together again. But I did enjoy this first episode. It was really cool. Definitely looking forward to the next one to see how far we go because I think we're going to get more information on what this crazy invisible spirit thing was that took over the preacher. We'll probably get more info on vampires and how all that stuff is playing out because at this point it's crazy mystical thing from space and vampires and everything else seems super normal. Well, not normal because Tulip lives a really crazy life. Like, she got followed by people in helicopters. That's not like, oh, you got in trouble with this mob boss or whatever. They had helicopters and she had to make a bazooka and kill people in the helicopter. So even that isn't too normal. So I'm definitely looking forward to some more information on the world and its characters. But I did enjoy this first episode for sure. I'm certainly going to stick with this show. It had me excited, going through, and especially the scenes for Tulip and Cassidy, like their introduction are really freaking great. So excited to see where they take their characters. Looking forward to just how dark things are going to get with the preacher because he was already kind of dark before and they mentioned that and we kind of get to see it through the fight, but his whole thing is like, I want to do right by my dad. Basically that's his thing, and they kept replaying the memory of his father dying and him being good, and we finally get that as the last flashback. It's like, you have to be good because there's already so many bad people, and of course he's already taken over by the darkness. So we'll see. And that's the big mystery for me, at least, is does this power corrupt him, or is it just his power? Because right now, it just seems like it's his power, but we also had the thing in the beginning with the guy who wasn't the chosen one. We heard, like, the crazy demonic voice. So, will it eventually try to take him over? Does it not take him over? It just kind of melds with him? There are a lot of questions as to how it plays out, so that I'm looking forward to, but definitely want to know your thoughts on this premiere, so please comment below, let me know your favorite parts, at least favorite parts. And, of course, whether you've read the comics or not, or if you even knew it was a comic, which I didn't. I think they mentioned that in, like, the first commercial, when they were first doing promos, it was based on the comic. But I didn't know about it, until the show got announced. But I'm interested in it. And knowing the origins from the comic book, and seeing the differences, at least from this first episode, because they might get into more of the comic book stuff compared to kind of everything they show, because it's fairly expansive, even in that little video that I watched. Which was a Watch Mojo video if you're interested in hearing like the comic book origins. It's just comic book origins preacher, but it was pretty cool. So it has me very curious what they're gonna stick to, what they're gonna change. Kind of like with The Walking Dead, what story elements are the same, what elements are different. Are they gonna change how certain characters are? Because they did that with Tulip technically, because in the comics that's his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend actually, and she's the one that finds him. And even him getting the powers was very different because in the comic books, apparently, he got hit with the power, whole church blew up and everybody got incinerated, but he survived. So obviously very different introduction to his ability. So they're doing it very different. So I'm curious how it'll play out. But I'd love to know if you guys are going to stick around with the show. If you read the comics, I would love to know what you guys thought about this first episode, how it compares to maybe the first couple issues maybe of the comics and stuff like that. Because, excuse me, with it being an adaptation, and of course with the reviews like it's the best comic adaptation ever, I'd love to know what people thought, for people that knew about the show beforehand. And like I said, even if you didn't, if you're like me, whether or not you just like the show in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.